It's our third beer from Cloudwater for this month. Double dry hop pale. This one is called the Little Pumphouse at Kinder Reservoir. It's got Waimea and El Dorado hops. What's it going to be like? Keep on watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're doing the third beer from this month's Cloudwater haul, as it were. We had 3 beers from Cloudwater, as I've done them pretty much one after the other on a couple of days basically in between them. And this is the double dry hop pale. This comes in at 5%. It says smooth and juicy, popping with bright fruit flavours. Waimea is a New Zealand hop, I think. El Dorado, obviously a US sort of hop. Or I think you get US and sort of Southern Hemisphere versions of it. But it doesn't say much more. It just says, these are spirits inside this little pump house at Kinder Reservoir. Kinder Reservoir is, I think it is in that sort of greater Manchester sort of area, which is where Cloudwater from Manchester. And it doesn't say much more else about it, really. But it's a nice looking can art. And it's a double dry hop pale. So we've had the other two that we had, a double dry hop IPA and an IPA. They were both good without being really, really great, you know. So we'll see where we get with this one. Certainly the other two were much more sort of traditional IPAs. This one looks like, in terms of its colour, definitely a little bit more yellowy on the colour. A lot more. It looks like a thicker beer. So we got a sort of custard straw coloured beer, 2 fingers of just off white head, and it's quite frothy. There's quite a lot of carbonation. You can see the carbonation going up the glass there quite quickly, moving pretty quickly. And the head, you'd expect a little bit more compact to that, but it's very soapy in terms of its head. You can see lots of the bubbles there in the head there. But let's see what the aromas are like. Yeah, I mean, it smells very much. It's got big sort of hits of gooseberry and white grape, which you'd expect from sort of New Zealand style hops. It's got a real freshness about it, quite a zesty sort of. There's lime, there's grapefruit in there. Yeah, it smells pretty fresh. Let's see what it tastes like. Cheers, everyone. Very zesty. I'd always say lime is the big flavour here. Lime, gooseberry, kiwi fruit, bit of lychee even. It's those sort of flavours. Then there's a nice sort of sharp, slightly bitter grapefruit flavour. It's pretty good, actually. It's quite. The flavours are pretty strong for a double dry hop pale at 5%. There's a lot of fruit flavours in there, real strong flavours. And they're more in that sort of the New Zealand style. So you're getting grape, you're getting gooseberry, you're getting melon, you're getting kiwi fruit, you're getting lychee. You know, they're the sort of flavours that you're getting. And then you're getting this wrapped up in a sort of real grapefruity sort of flavour on the back end. And there's lots of big citrus, zesty, quite sharp citrusy flavours, lemons and especially limes. Lime is a big flavour in this. The biggest disappointment though is it's a lot more carbonated than a lot of beers. Certainly beers that look like that. Usually when they're that sort of colour, you set to quite a sort of medium to medium to full mouthfeel, a more thicker mouthfeel, and a low levels of carbonation. But the carbonation on this beer is actually quite fizzy, actually, and that's its downfall. The flavours are definitely there, and they're really sharp, strong flavours. But you've got this sort of the lightness, the zinginess which is good. I suppose the carbonation just popped those flavours around the mouth quite well. But it's one of those sort of beers you expect it to be a little bit, you know, low carbonation, but it's not got low carbonation. It's a little bit prickly and a little bit fizzy in terms of the carbonation. And I think because of that, it would probably mark it down for that, because I think that if you took that away, you'd get those big New Zealand flavours. The Waimea, which I don't, Waimea, I'm sure it's pronounced Waimea, Waimea. One of those. It's definitely a New Zealand hop. It sounds very sort of Maori, as it were. And those flavours are so strong, and they're very sort of unique to those sort of hops. Whether it's that, whether it's Raku is another, again, can't pronounce that one either, is another very strong, and obviously Nelson sort of in the other one. It's definitely got all those sort of flavours in there. Yeah, it's really juicy, strong, juicy, and nice fruit flavours. And we're much more on that sort of, on the citrus sort of side, you know. The lime in it and the grapefruit gives it that real sharpness. And it is that sort of, it's almost to the point where it gets to a sour level in terms of the flavours. But it's kept in check with all these sort of big, fresh sort of fruits like melon, like gooseberry, and like grape, which is very characteristic of New Zealand. It's pretty good. A little bit let down by the carbonation being a little bit too prickly. But let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for the Little Pumphouse Kinder Reservoir. That's not easy to say. This is a double dry hopped pale, coming in at 5%, and it's a Waimea and El Dorado hops. It's very New Zealand-esque in its flavour. But let's go through those scores. Aroma, well, as I said, there's no doubting there's New Zealand hops in this, because it has those very sort of New Zealand hop characteristics. Those much more greener, fresher sort of fruits. So you're getting any fruit that's sort of got green in it, you're getting it. So you're getting gooseberry, you're getting a little bit of melon, you're getting grape, white grape, you're getting kiwi fruits, and you're getting limes. They're all the big sort of green, sort of greeny sort of fruits, and you're getting all of those in the aroma. You're also getting a bit of a grapefruit in there, and it's just got a very zesty citrus at the sort of extreme level of those zesty sort of aromas. So when you think of sort of like the citrus fruits, the strongest citrus, like your limes and grapefruits, they're the big in the aroma there. But smells pretty good though, so I'm giving it 15 for aroma. Appearance, well, again, I think it looks pretty good, because I'd always love beers like this, which has that sort of yellowy, custard-like look. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed the head hasn't sort of stuck around that much. I think that's maybe down to the fact that it's fairly carbonated. But I think it's a solid 9 for appearance. Flavour-wise, well, all those flavours are in there, like the aromas. So you get strong hits of grape, gooseberry, kiwi, lychee. They're all in there. And then there's lots of lemons and limes, lots of that, all throughout. And then you get a little bit of grapefruit on the back end, slight pininess as well, which is coming in a little bit more now. It's slightly warmed up a little bit. You get a slight pininess, but I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of bitterness. It's really zesty. That's the big sort of a description of it. And you're getting a real back end of sort of sharp grapefruit, sharp lime sort of flavour, and it's very characteristic of what you expect from New Zealand hop. The problem I have with the beer, which doesn't elevate it to something a little bit extra special, is the fact that for me it's a little thin and it's a little too fizzy, too carbonated. I expect a lot lower levels of carbonation. I don't know whether it's because it's a pale opposed to an IPA, but I think if the carbonation was sort of held back a little bit, it would be better for me, you know, a better sort of beer. But because it's a little bit fizzy, I'm knocking it back. But it's still pretty good, 34 for flavour. Value for money. Well, like all these Cloudwater beers, they're all just about over a £5. It's a £5, 2 different hops. It's a nicely made beer. It's you know, certainly emphasises those sort of hops and the flavours of those hops really do come to the front. So I'm giving it 8 out of 10 for value. And my overall experience, well, it would be up there with some of the best of the sort of New Zealand style beers that you can get. A little bit too fizzy though for me, really, a little bit too fizzy. If you like your beers a little bit more fizzy and you get all those citrus zestiness all whipping around your mouth really because of that carbonation, but I think it would be better if it was dialed back a little bit. So I'm giving it 14 for overall experience. It's still a very good beer, and it's a beer that I've pretty much drank as I've done the review, and that's always a good sign. So we top those scores up, and in fact this gets the highest rated of the 3 Cloudwaters at 80. So it's a highly recommended beer, but it's at the low level of the highly recommended. If you like your New Zealand hops, you'll like this. As I said, for me, it's the carbonation that just sort of, it reduces it down. I think the carbonation was a bit lower, and you had more time to sort of really get those flavours. It would probably knock up 2 or 3 more points above that. But it's still a beer that can be easily recommended. If you like your New Zealand hops, you like those flavours I've described, then I think you'll love this. And it's, you know, it's wrapped up in a 5% beer that's full of flavour, full of zestiness as well. So 80 out of 100. It's an Iron Maiden, but it's the Charlotte the Harlot. You know, it's the Invaders or the Gangland or the, you know, Flash the Blade. Not the best Iron Maiden song, but of course every Iron Maiden song is going to be good, isn't it? But it's not Number of the Beast. So, hope you've enjoyed that video. Hope you've enjoyed the little free series of Cloudwater. I mean, they are in that sort of top section of beers because of their consistency. They do lots of different things with different types of hops. I don't think I've had the best of Cloudwater on these 3. This one being the best of the 3, but certainly they are consistently good beers. Great beers, I don't think they're quite that level. They're not up there with the Vedants and the Deas and the Pollys really in terms of the sort of flavours. But they're still a really good brewery, and definitely if you see any Cloudwater stuff, give them a try because you might just stumble on one that's a really superb beer. So, hope you enjoyed that video, and until the next one, keep on rocking.